Good evening. Thanks for being here, everybody. I apologize about the technical difficulties and the delay in getting started, but we're going to get right into this, and really grateful for all of you being here, and those of you online, thank you. I'm going to turn it right over to Stephanie McGinnis. She is our State Water Plan Manager and is going to lead us through the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Candace. And yes, I'm the State Water Plan Manager, and I'm just really happy that you all were able to join us this evening to talk about the State Water Plan that we're updating right now. I appreciate that you all could have spent your evening doing other things, so I really appreciate you all taking the time to join us this evening. And I also want to give a special thanks to the Weber River Watershed Council. They've already been really instrumental in helping us to shape the State Water Plan, identifying challenges and needs here in the watershed, and helping us to identify kind of a path forward for the State Water Plan. So just grateful for their time and efforts to make this happen. And I just want to start out with what the Division of Water Resources mission is. It's to plan, conserve, develop, and protect Utah's water resources. And certainly the State Water Plan falls underneath that mission. And it really is a big effort from our team. Just about everyone at the division is involved in the State Water Plan, from collecting and analyzing data to helping with events like this, with our public meetings, and helping to write sections of the State Water Plan. But really, the State Water Plan is much bigger than just the Division of Water Resources. We work with our sister agencies to help guide the path of the State Water Plan. We're working at the local level with the watershed councils, with the water conservancy districts, and of course, holding events like this so that we can hear from the public on what you all would like to see included in the State Water Plan. And this evening, I just want to give you a quick overview. This will be a short presentation. Those of you that are online have probably already realized that you're unable to ask questions or make comments. However, at the end of this presentation, there will be a link to a survey, so you can share your feedback there. There also will be an email address that you can actually see at the end, but also on the bottom of every slide. So statewaterplan.utah.gov. If you have any questions, you can reach out directly with that. So really what I want to do with our time this evening is I want to talk about what the State Water Plan is, and also, just as important, what it isn't. I want to talk about why it matters to you all and how you all can shape the State Water Plan, not just this evening, but stay engaged throughout the process, so that we're sure that we're reflecting the needs and the concerns of individuals at the local level. And the purpose of the State Water Plan, really what we want to do is we want to provide an overview of current water resources. We also want to provide strategies and actionable steps at the individual, local, and state levels to help us not just address current challenges, but also to help prepare us for the future. And my hope is that the State Water Plan will serve as a strategic framework to support informed decision-making by those that are shaping, managing, or depending on Utah's water resources. And the first truly comprehensive State Water Plan was published in 1990, and certainly the state of Utah has been planning for water well before that. And it's kind of interesting when we look back at these plans to see how the focus has shifted over time. And to me, this is important because it just really reinforces that the water landscape that we live in, it isn't static. Our challenges, our needs, they're always changing. And these plans, like I said, reflect that as we look back through time. So the first water planning document, and again, this wasn't a full-blown state water plan, but this was focused on development, increasing storage, and getting water to where it was needed. And the 1963 plan, this was still pretty focused on storage and moving water to where it was needed. The 1990 plan, and again, this was the first comprehensive state water plan, we start to see a bit of a shift in the focus. So there were entire sections that are devoted to water pollution, the importance of fisheries and other aquatic wildlife, and also acknowledging water conservation as a necessary tool to manage our water resources. The second state water plan, this was published in 2001, And this plan, I think we already were aware of this, but it really just calls out and highlights the fact that we live in a semi-arid climate, and it touches on the fact that we need to recognize that as we plan for the future. And in the most recent plan, it acknowledges that we're starting to see a change in our long-term weather trends. And this will continue to be of concern as we develop the next state water plan. And in recent years, we've seen an increase in the frequency and the severity of drought. This map, this is from the U.S. Drought Monitor, and it shows the percent of time in weeks from 2000 through 2019 that each state has been in some level of drought. So to count as a week of drought for the state, at least half of the state has to be in some level of drought. And we can see during this 20-year period that Utah has experienced drought conditions about 40 to 50% of the time. Essentially, around half of the year, at least half of the state is in some stage of drought. And I think it's pretty impossible to live in Utah, especially here in this basin, and to not be aware of the challenges facing Great Salt Lake. And to me, we really can't stress enough how important it is that we pay attention to what's changing around us and how that might affect our thinking on how we manage our water resources. And we see this as well on the Colorado River. So we have and we continue to have concerns regarding the dwindling amount of water that's available for storage in the Colorado River Basin. And this is a picture of Lake Powell in 2021. And at that time, this was a new historic low since it started filling back in the 60s. The reservoir then hit another record low the next summer and the next summer. So again, just highlighting this idea that we really need to pay attention to what's happening around us as we think about our water resources. And I certainly don't want to paint a gloom and doom picture this evening, because from these challenges come opportunities. Developments in science and how we collect data, they can help us to better understand how we can adapt to these changing conditions and help us to better manage our water resources. And this is an example of just one area where we can improve what we know about our water here in the state, the Airborne Snow Observatory, or ASO for short. This is technology that allows for aerial surveys, and they can be conducted to provide a comprehensive measurement of snow depth and, maybe more importantly, how much water, snow water equivalent or SWE, is in that snow. And they can do this over a large area, an entire watershed, an entire basin. And traditionally we collect our snow, our SWE information from snow telemetry sites. And those are really great at that point measurement, but ASO will provide the opportunity to do this over a large spatial scale. And right now the division is involved in a multi-year pilot study to determine if this is a good path forward. And before we move on, this is a great time to point out a couple of things that the state water plan is not. I wish it were, but it's not a guarantee of water. And the state water plan is also not a regulatory document. The Division of Water Resources is not a regulatory agency. But the past does show that recommendations in the plan do sometimes come to fruition. Recommendations often come in the shapes of goals or objectives. And in the 2021 plan, approximately 80% of the goals and objectives have been met to date. And I want to touch on why it matters to you all. Certainly, water affects us all, whether it's water from turning on your tap, irrigation for farms, water for healthy rivers, healthy lakes, for the environment, for the ecosystem, for recreation. We're all planning or wanting to plan for a safe and reliable water supply that sustains our communities, supports our economy, and protects the environment now and into the future. So I want to get into again, this is pretty high level, but into some of the details. The plan will have a total of 9 chapters, and this evening we'll drill down into chapters 2 through 8 a bit. So chapters 2, 3, and 4, I see these as the chapters that outline what the limiting or constraining factors are when it comes to how much water we have in our state and what we can do with that water. And then within those constraints, how do we support our watersheds and ecosystems, our communities, and our agriculture, chapters 5, 6, and 7. And we'll also have a chapter that discusses the unique challenges and needs within the 11 basins within Utah, as well as the unique opportunities and successes within those basins. So diving in a bit more into each chapter, Chapter 2 will provide an overview of Utah's water constraints. So for example, we only receive so much precipitation here in our state, and that's what we have to work with. The plan will also explain how supply and use are measured, as well as provide a current water budget that details supply and current use. And the water budget, it provides insight into things like diversion and depletion. And these are key pieces of information when it comes to managing water at the basin or state level. And so our team collects data and runs these models annually. This graphic up here is just an example of what they can do with those sorts of data. So you can see this is kind of a busy graphic, but on the left, it says diversions by basin up at the top. So, a diversion, that's how much water is being diverted from a water body for human use. On the top right, you can see depletion. So that's the total amount of water that's diverted and then depleted, meaning that it's not available now for human use or consumption. And on the bottom right, you can see return flow, which is probably what you're thinking it is. That's the amount of water that's diverted but then returned back to a water body. Chapter 3, this will focus on the drivers of change that affect Utah's water supply and demand, such as changes in climate and population. We've seen, as we mentioned before, more frequent and severe droughts across the state. And, population, we're seeing that growing rapidly in many areas within our state. And both of these trends create some uncertainty for our water future. So we want to have a roadmap to how we prepare for and adapt to these changes. This chapter will highlight improvements in technology and conservation and help us adapt to a changing water landscape, as well as how shifts in policy and management might improve our ability to adapt, whether that be at the state or the more local level. Chapter 4, this will focus on how water is administered in Utah. We'll cover who does what in the state at the regional and local levels. So this includes state agencies like the Division of Water Resources, all the way down to the local irrigation companies. Each has a specific role in planning, developing, regulating, or delivering water. We'll highlight key laws and agreements that shape water use here in Utah, including interstate compacts that allocate river flows between states. We'll talk about water rights, and which includes federally reserved water rights, tribal rights. And we'll touch on innovations in water administration, such as the Unified Water Infrastructure Plan, known as the UWIP. And this is a relatively new plan and aims to improve coordination and funding for water infrastructure projects across the state. So again, within these sideboards outlined in Chapter 2, 3, and 4, how do we support our environment, our communities, and our agriculture? And I want to talk high level of what will be included in the plan, but I also want to highlight some water resource challenges that are relevant here at the local level. So Chapter 5, this will emphasize the importance of protecting our watersheds and highlight the services that they provide. Healthy watersheds, they provide a multitude of services such as maintaining and improving water quality. They increase water storage as well as help to mitigate against the effects of flooding. And they also provide some pretty key habitat, which is crucial to supporting and maintaining biodiversity. And healthy watersheds are also a really great place to play. And not only are they a great place to play, but in turn, this is a major economic benefit to many of our communities. We'll also address the major threats that our watersheds face. Pollution and invasive species are two of the major ones that we'll highlight. Pollution has a multitude of sources and a multitude of negative effects within a watershed, affecting water quality for aquatic life and also human use. And invasive species, both plants and animals, can crowd out natives, they can disrupt ecosystems, they can affect the quality as well as the quantity of water. And one of the big issues with invasives is that once they're established, they're often difficult or impossible to eradicate, and this can result in an economic cost to our communities as well. And this chapter will also highlight some of the management plans that are already in place to conserve and protect our native species, especially those that are listed as threatened or endangered. And really, to me, at the end of the day, without healthy watersheds and ecosystems, it's really hard to support our communities and our agricultural community. So we'll move into our next chapter on vibrant communities. Certainly clean drinking water, supporting growth and development, ensuring safe and reliable infrastructure. These are all important to ensuring that our communities are resilient. So we'll cover the importance of long-term planning to ensure that our water resources are ready to support growing population, ensure that we're ready for economic opportunities, especially things like energy development. Geothermal and other alternative energy sources are being considered across the state to support a growing population. And we also want to make sure that we have a strategy in place to seize on future opportunities, like hosting the upcoming 2034 Olympics. We'll dive into the details of how we can better manage demand by growing water wise through the use of smart water technology, such as smart irrigation timers. We'll dive into all of the rebate programs and incentives, educational workshops that are available to Utahns to help make water-wise decisions. And we'll highlight the positives of metering secondary water connections, as well as the positives of implementing tiered water rates that reward conservation efforts. And certainly, as the saying goes here in Utah, we're either in drought or preparing for the next one. So we'll outline how the drought response plan helps us to monitor and respond to drought in our communities. And just as we're looking at how we can better manage demand, we'll also look at how we can expand and optimize our supply through planning for repair and replacement of aging infrastructure, and how we can develop new infrastructure, and how we can implement projects that focus on water reuse in some parts of the state, as well as aquifer storage and recovery and water loss control. And then the final chapter that I'd like to discuss before we highlight some basin specifics is productive agriculture. Agriculture is certainly a cornerstone of Utah's identity and economy, and the state water plan is supporting farmers and ranchers by identifying grant programs and other financial opportunities that are out there to help them improve operations, as well as identifying ways to use water more efficiently while preserving agricultural lands and traditions. So we'll highlight opportunities available through the Agricultural Water Optimization Program, Conservation Easement Program, as well as the Agriculture Voluntary Incentive Program. And within those, we'll talk a lot about best management practices, or BMPs. So we'll also dive into those both off-farm as well as on-farm. With our off-farm BMPs, we're really focusing in on conveyance and measurement, whereas on-farm, there's opportunities to improve infrastructure, as well as tools and tips and help for managing crops, soil, water application on farm. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, we've been working with the Weber River Watershed Council to identify challenges and needs within the basin as they relate to water resources within those kind of high-level topics of healthy watersheds and ecosystems, vibrant communities, and productive agriculture. And as we were digging into this with the Watershed Council, it was really no surprise that we saw a lot of overlap among the topics, because again, without healthy watersheds and ecosystems, I think it's really difficult to support our communities and our agricultural producers. So I just invite you to read these over for a moment. These are just a few things that were identified by the Watershed Council as challenges or needs. But I ask that, in a moment we'll be breaking out to have a conversation with those of you that are here online, or in person, and those of you online, you can provide that feedback in the survey. But, are there other things that are keeping you up at night when you think about water here locally? So before we do break out, I'd like to first discuss how you all can stay engaged throughout the process. We're holding 11 meetings just like this across the state. We'll be ending basically this series at the end of this month. And then our team will spend the winter writing, taking all of that information that you all have provided and infusing that into the state water plan. And then next summer, you'll have another opportunity to comment on the state water plan. So next July, August, we'll have what we consider to be a final draft of the state water plan, But we'll put that out to you all to see if you also agree that it's a final plan. And then the final draft will be available December of 2026. And I'll put these QR codes up at the end of the presentation, but you can sign up for email updates using the QR code on the left. By signing up, you'll be notified of the public comment period next summer. You'll also be notified when the final publication is available in December of 2026. I promise we will not bombard your inbox with State Water Plan email updates. You might get another one or two, but I can't imagine you'll get more than about 5 from us. And the QR code on the right, this will take you to our Watershed Councils page. So if you'd like to engage in water issues at a more local level, we really encourage you to get involved with your local watershed council. So on that page, you'll find out more information, including how to join the upcoming meeting. And these occur quarterly. So there'll be one coming up soon in your area. And this QR code will also be up at the end of the presentation. So again, for those of you that are joining us online, we hope that you will take the survey. It should only take you about 5 to 10 minutes. If you're here in the room with us, we do hope that you'll stay and have a conversation with us, but you're also welcome to take this survey as well. Couple of things. I think we've got a good group here. Instead of breaking out into tables, what we do sometimes, I think we'll just form a circle here in a moment and just have a conversation. But I want to let you know that we will be recording the conversation. If you've ever had to lead a discussion, it's really hard to take good notes and facilitate that discussion. So we will record, and I think we'll have plenty of time for everyone to share all of their thoughts with us this evening. And the last thing I just want to ask of you all is to please be kind to each other. You know, water is important to all of us. You all wouldn't be here if it wasn't. So we've got a lot of probably unique perspectives in the room. So I just ask that you all respect each other's opinions and perspectives. I want to introduce some of our staff here in the room with us. So we have Olga here with us. So she'll be participating in our conversation. She's one of our environmental scientists. We have Blue sitting over there, a water conservation technician with us, and we also have our Watershed Council Coordinator, Carly Payne, with us this evening. We also have Director Hassenjaeger here with us this evening, Michael Sanchez over in the corner, and I guess Paul, I don't know if he can totally hear me with his headphones on, but I just want to give a shout out to Paul for helping us with all of our IT and AV issues. So with that, again, as promised, I have all of these links up. So I'll leave these up for those of you that are staying with us in the room. And for those of you online, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening.